Hey guys, meet Matthew.
99.999% of women don't like a mouthful of urine. This is what men do when their dick stops working. This is all Mr. 62-year-old. The dick is out to lunch. Really, the secret is...
Now I know what you're thinking. Are we related? No, we're just two good-looking bald guys. Matthew was one of my online clients that came to me with a heap of urinary symptoms and erectile dysfunction symptoms. Spoiler alert, I was able to help him fix almost everything. Now, before we get into how we did it, here's his story on the symptoms he was experiencing. And yes, a lot of you watching are going to be going through the exact same thing. Buckle up, let's get into the conversation.
My urinary symptoms go back, I'm 62 years old. And we're talking about having trouble with urinary symptoms, specifically urgency, that started when I was late 30s. So this was a situation where, I'd be in meeting. I had a professional job. I was an engineering manager at a big networking company, and I would be running these meetings that would last for hours. And I would have to leave multiple times during a 2-hour meeting to go to the bathroom. And I was leading the meeting. So this is just a really miserable experience. And at the time, I kind of had a typical male mindset of not thinking like, go to the doctor and ask them, I just didn't even think that it would be a treatable thing. So those symptoms started then. And what happened was I actually, this is the late 90s, and I retired. I put air quotes. That's a whole other sequence of videos. But and I moved away from the Silicon Valley, and I suddenly had a little bit of free time. So I sought medical attention, and I was initially and I told them I have this urgency issues and urgency and frequency, and I was prescribed, actually the initial prescription was for a blood pressure medication. So it was an off-label use of a blood pressure medication called tirazosin. And this was supposedly, it says it relaxes the muscles, the sitting muscles that put pressure on your bladder, supposedly. So, and my benchmark always was how many times to get up in the middle of the night, right? Because a lot of factors involved during the day, whether you have to go urinate or not, or you're drinking coffee, or you're stressed, like in meetings you don't want to be in. And so it was like my benchmark. It's like the one kind of control situation I had. And that seemed to, keep it down to once or twice, get up once or twice a night with that medication. And so being, quote unquote retired, or at least having control of my environment, the urgency didn't matter that much because I could just go to the bathroom whenever I wanted. I wasn't in those meetings anymore. Now, fast forward decades, and I went back to school, and I was going to re-enter the workforce. And I knew, because I had already been in the workforce, already been in these types of organizations, that I was going to be in meetings. This is pre-COVID. And I was getting a computer science degree. And shoot, I need to, my lifestyle is going to change. I can make it through a class without getting, I was still getting up in the middle of the class and going to the bathroom sometimes. But work is, I need to address these symptoms because I cannot I need to be able to sit for an hour and a half and not get up to go to the bathroom, even though I would go right before I went to the meeting, and that was the situation that led me to seek other care. And so the resume procedure was supposedly a procedure that would reduce the chances of having ejaculation without dry ejaculations. It's called I forget what it's called right now. You can tell me.
That's okay. Retrograde ejaculation.
Retrograde ejaculation, yeah. So I had actually kind of alluded to my brother, one of my older brothers, that I was considering surgery, and he's like, oh, retrograde ejaculation is the most horrible thing. He said, I'd go to the bathroom every 10 minutes before I'd have to have it. I'm like, oh, okay. You're really gonna be concerned about that. But honestly, I did not get a lot of feedback from the urologist. Well, for the urologist I had at the time, the only procedure he offered was a TURP, where I guess they surgically cut it out. And he's like, oh yeah, you're absolutely going to have retrograde ejaculations, 100% chance, And no, I don't do resume. This is what I do. And so, I live in Boise, Idaho. It's not a huge metropolitan area, so there's not like thousands of urologists to pick from. There was a short list of people that did resume. I had, done my research, and this seemed to be the least. It seemed to be a procedure that promised good results with the least chance of implications, and so that's why I went that route. So those were my symptoms. That's a long-winded answer, number one.
Oh, that's perfect.
So there was a very long period. I'd say I want to say about 2 years, a very up and down, ebb and flow of the urgency and frequency symptoms coming and going. And I did try to treat it through physical therapy. I can go into the details of what that particular therapist wanted or tried.
Yeah, go ahead.
A variety of things, including one session of, he didn't call it acupuncture, but it was basically needles in my ass. And that was dramatic. Like, I went home that night and peed the bed that night. Really bad, like completely void. He's like, okay, we'll stop that. I'm like, yeah, that's not working. I'm like, wow, this better be fixed. Yeah, the cure, that old saying that, I don't want the cure to be worse than the disease. That was definitely, he was kind of shocked. And I'm like, yeah, well, it happened, believe me. And I got the soaked bed to prove it. So fortunately, that never happened again. This, wholesale voiding into the bed. So, over time, the symptoms ebbed and flowed. I was prescribed also to take ibuprofen or naproxen sodium at night, to help alleviate the inflammation. Which I was like, well, how do you know it's inflamed when you say it? But there's, so there's a lot, and it's just a lot of guessing, I think, and trial and error. But then recently, so you fast forward to maybe I want to say a year ago, let's say. Started having issues with leakage, and this was annoying, but it was small, like a tablespoon of urine leaking maybe in the night, or other random times. But then maybe 4 or 5 months ago, I started leaking when I would get an erection or was fully erect in the middle of a sex act. And I'd say 99.999% of women don't like a mouthful of urine. So that was not good. And if she does, you already know it's, worry about it. So, so that was that was like a symptom that was non-tolerable. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to revisit this. Like, cause I'd moved on with my life. Because we had work from home, and I'm like, oh yeah, I have to go to the bathroom. So what? Nobody knows. I could do it while I'm in the meeting. You take your phone with you. You're still in the meeting. Camera's off. Do your way. But I'm like, I need to pay some more attention to this. So I'm gonna revisit this whole Kegel, make your pelvic floor stronger thing again. And then I saw Dr. Leckie's video, and he's like, do you need to strengthen it, or do you need to stretch it? What is actually going on? And I started putting 2 and 2 together. I'm like, said it's inflamed. That seems like the same kind of thing. Tightness would seem like we can't create the same type of condition. Like you're not giving enough space for everything to do their job. And I thought it was an interesting proposition. So you did these happy babies, and I'm like, all right, let's give the happy baby a chance. And the relief I got from the happy baby was almost immediate. Like within, a week or two, I was, leaking less frequently, and over the course of a month's time, I had no more of the leaking during sex, which was really the intolerable symptom. And so I was like, okay. That worked pretty good. What other tricks does this guy have? So that's when I decided to reach out and make an appointment. It was like,
Okay, let me catch you up. So Matt had the resume procedure. 2 years later, he stumbles upon one of my YouTube videos, like a lot of you watching. He books in for a consult with me. He's now one of my coaching clients. His symptoms upon presentation to me were erectile dysfunction, incomplete bladder emptying, and urinary incontinence. So he was leaking. Now that was traumatic for Matt because number one, he's always prioritized a very healthy sex life with his wife. And two, he enjoys sleeping naked with her in bed. And obviously you can't do that if you're leaking urine overnight. That's just a messy situation. So we focused on bladder emptying strategies, pelvic floor relaxation, and pelvic floor stretching. We went through his fluids, the food he was putting in his body, and modified everything to help him with the input of his bladder and also to maximize the output when he was emptying. And then we went through a full list of supplements and strategies for his erectile dysfunction. Now, don't just take it from me. Here's Matt's thoughts and opinions on how he's doing now. Hey, really quick, don't forget about our gentleman's agreement. If you've watched more than one of my videos, you gotta subscribe to our channel. What are you waiting for? It's completely free. Click that subscribe button, costs you nothing. As soon as you click subscribe, I now work for you, and I promise you, I will work harder than I've ever worked to continue putting out valuable content to help all of you men out there struggling with men's health issues. Join our community, click subscribe. Okay, now to the video.
After I started sessions with you, I started taking the citrulline, and my personal sexual experience has benefited, like my, how sex feels for me, like, and so, that I've been with my wife for 8 years, and so, that initial, can't get off of each other thing is kind of obviously not as intense as it was when we first met, and it's been great. Like, it's definitely reinvigorated. Not that it was in the bad shape, but it's like, it always can be better, right? So, things are very good, yes, in the sexual performance department. That is for sure.
Do you have a secret that you used, maybe you personally, to continue lighting that spark or to continue showing up, even though that you've experienced so many of these men's health issues? Because like for the average guy, what I would imagine is if you're leaking at the time of ejaculation and you're experiencing maybe your erections aren't as firm as they once were, there's a lot going on in our heads during that time. How were you able to push through that and really prioritize the relationship and prioritize your love life? Like, what did you do?
Well, I am very fortunate in that I have a wife that is in a relationship with that wife that is extremely open and highly communicative. And she was, she's extremely understanding, right? And if I have a problem sexually, she understands when I say it isn't you. She believes that. Of course, she's naturally going to have those thoughts, and I'm like, no, you didn't do anything wrong. This is all Mr. 62-year-old. Yeah. So, really the secret is communication. If you have a partner, communicating with them, and we all know that sex is much more than physical, right? It's a huge mental thing, and the greater the intimacy on all levels you have with your partner, the greater that physical intimacy is going to be. And so, yeah, if I have a secret, it's a dedication to communication with my wife, and on all levels, right? You can't have open communication about this, but not about this, just a completely no secrets relationship.
So if someone's watching this and they believe or they perceive that they don't have a partner that is willing to meet them halfway, or maybe they just haven't had any of these conversations, what would be your starting point for them, or maybe advice or take-home message?
You're just going to have to take a risk, and you're going to have to put yourself out there. And I think, most women, it's a woman, our partners are going to, going to want to listen to you. As long as you approach them in a situation where it's like, I want our relationship to be better, and I want to do what it takes to make it better. And it starts here with me telling you, I want to communicate with you more. And I want to be able to share things with you that I haven't been able to share with in the past. And I want you to be supportive of me sharing with you. So the initial outreach is not demanding something of your partner, like, I want you to do this, you should do that, you should do this thing. It's like, I want to do this. This is what I want to do, and this is why I want to do it. And I think that will open the door. And, most partners are going to find your vulnerability very exciting to them. And, certainly in the case of women, it's all about the touchy-feelies, much more so than the physical. Sex is sex, and you can always work on the mechanics of sex. And you can have a sexually satisfying relationship even if you can't achieve penetration. That's secondary. First comes the relationship and the openness, and then it gives you the opportunity to have this, work on the physical mechanics of whatever's going on with your body. And with the support of your partner, they're going to at least take away those obstacles that you might have of the self-imposed shame or embarrassment. If your partner is also open.
Yeah.
I see my YouTubes and videos, like I see these videos of these men, older men, my age, or older or younger, these elaborate model train setups, right? And I'm just like, that is amazing. It must have taken hours and hours to do this. And I thought to myself, this is what men do when their dick stops working. It's like, do one less train layout and have a conversation with your wife. And I also just had a possible tip. Like, a guy could just start out with, hey, Mrs. or Mr., would you sit down and watch one of these videos with me? Where people like you and I are talking about these things. And so even if he can't find the words, you can share those words with her.
All right, guys, that concludes Matt's story on how he was able to overcome his erectile dysfunction, his incomplete bladder emptying, and his urinary incontinence issues. Now, I really hope that at least this video has inspired some of you watching to maybe go and take action on some of the symptoms that you've been dealing with. And shameless plug, if you want my help, if you want someone that focuses on men's health issues every single day, it's literally all that I do. I offer a free 20-minute consultation so that you can see what my opinion is on your situation, and then we can see if you're suitable for either a 1-hour consultation or a one-on-one coaching program. Now, I'll leave the links below. Also, I'm trying to convince Matt to post more videos to his YouTube channel. So I'll also link Matt's channel below in the description as well for you to go check out and show him some love. Now, remember, regardless of your situation, keep going, and I'll see you in the next video.